I'm Elaine Reyes at United Nations headquarters in New York, and this is a special year-end edition of UN Insider.
Coming up.
Our world is heading off the rails, and we need tough decisions to get back on track.
Facing the world's most pressing issues and working to find solutions.
Countries should come together and work together to solve problems, to prevent wars, to address the great challenges of development.
And preparing for the challenges of the future.
The international community should respect and safeguard the right of all countries to develop and utilize AI technology on an equal footing.
A look at some memorable moments from the United Nations Year in Diplomacy. Next.
For the United Nations, 2024 has been a year of conflict and challenges, but also one of progress and diplomacy. Mr. President, Elaine Reyes with CGTN America, China Global Television Network. Your vision statement begins with unity in diversity. What perspective do you hope to bring from the African continent and in bringing African voices to your agenda as the 79th PGA?
Looking into the future all together, we can solve problems.
Solving the world's problems has never been easy, and diplomats faced more obstacles in 2024. Conflict topped the UN's agenda, with fighting raging in dozens of places around the globe and humanitarian challenges mounting. It was also the hottest year on record, punctuated by devastating extreme weather events. But negotiators reached new climate financing agreements at COP29. And during the Summit of the Future and the General Assembly, leaders from around the world came together to put the UN on a path designed to better help meet the needs of a changing world. Members of the UN Security Council dealt with a wide range of issues in 2024. Shudeja has a look back.
Yes, Elaine. This has been an incredible year, though unfortunately not in the best sense of the word. We've faced crisis after crisis, and today I just want to briefly touch a few of them. Well, first, Gaza and its spillover effects. Frankly speaking, I've never imagined this conflict in Gaza could last this long. Not only has it persisted, but it has also spread across the entire region. The Security Council, meanwhile, has been unable to function on this issue due to multiple vetoes by the US.
Those against?
Those against?
Those against?
With the Security Council at a standstill, the General Assembly stepped in, passing multiple resolutions urging a ceasefire and release of hostages. It also granted Palestine additional rights. And then we witnessed this.
You are shredding the UN Charter with your own hands.
In response to the ambassador, here's Farhan Haq, deputy spokesperson for the Secretary General.
Do you feel uncomfortable to see that image in the TV?
I've been around here a long time. I've seen a lot. Look, and all I can tell you, look, that was a charter. There's many charters. There's one right here. The charter is intact. Its ideals are intact.
You're resurrected.
Nevertheless, Palestine is now seated among member states.
I request you to confirm with the Secretariat that His Excellency Ambassador Riyad Mansour, the distinguished permanent representative of the State of Palestine, is seated among the member states accordingly.
I have been informed that all arrangements have been made to have Palestine seated where it's supposed to sit.
I feel great. This is a historic moment, and it is a significant step in acquiring our right, a legal right and natural right to become a full member.
The spillover effects of the conflict are equally troubling. Israel launched military operations also on its northern border against Hezbollah, and one tactic, the shocking pager's explosion, caught the world's attention. There are a lot of speculations on, the communication device explosions. Can you confirm whether Israel is behind this or not?
So we are not commenting on the specific attacks you mentioned, but I can tell you that we will do everything we can to target those terrorists, to minimize casualties to civilians, but we prefer the diplomatic way.
And now we know who was behind it.
Minister Netanyahu of Israel has already acknowledged that he's behind it. So how would this investigation go? And can we hold anybody who's behind this attack accountable?
I think, listen, accountability, sadly, sometimes takes quite a long time, but accountability is always needed.
Okay, second, Syria. In a surprising turn of events, the rebels ousted Bashar al-Assad and took Damascus in just 11 days. But a major question remains unanswered. How should the international community address Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, a Security Council designated terrorist organization? So the Security Council considered the terrorist group.
We will try. I think it is important that we try our best to prevent a resurgence of the terrorist groups.
Well, the U.S. considering delisting HTS as the terrorist group so far.
Look, they remain a designated terrorist organization.
Then how would this play out?
Well, let's let it play out and let's see. We're going to judge them by their actions, but they remain a designated terrorist organization. It's still in place right now.
Let's not forget Israel's military operations now in Syria.
During the last couple of days, they actually targeted 320 Syrian military targets, which including the whole Syrian Navy fleet. What is the Secretary General's position on this kind of action there?
I think it is very clear that we stand against any violation of the territorial integrity of Syria. We are against these types of attacks.
Beyond that, the Ukrainian crisis and the humanitarian disaster in Sudan continue to demand attention. With so many crises unfolding around the world, one has to ask, can the UN truly handle it all? Does the UN have pressure this year to tackling so many crises around the world?
This has been almost an unprecedented year for the United Nations. We've had to deal with so many different crises, short-term crises, conflicts like the war in Ukraine, the war in Gaza, what's going on in Syria and Lebanon and Sudan. But also we have to deal with the longer-term crisis, climate change. Things are not going in the right way. The fact that we were not able to seal a deal on the plastics treaty. We're seeing the rollback of human rights, of women's rights in so many places. But that is not to say we are overwhelmed. I think this organization, under the leadership of the Secretary General, has been ready and is tackling all these issues. But we can't do it alone. We need the member states to work together to help us all move in the right direction.
Hopefully we can move in the right direction in the coming year.
Very much hopeful.
You know what? I've come to believe that no news is good news. So let's hope in the coming year it brings fewer headlines, at least fewer bad headlines from the UN and beyond. So I guess, Happy New Year.
China plays a key role here at UN headquarters. It is a founding member and holds a permanent Security Council seat. This year, China's diplomatic efforts led to key resolutions on topics like the conflict in the Middle East and artificial intelligence. Jody Jacobs has the details.
China has continued to assert itself as a key player in international diplomacy, using its permanent seat on the UN Security Council to push for its vision of a multipolar world order. In recent months, China has taken an active role in discussions around key issues, including global security, economic recovery, climate change, and global technology. One of the highlights came in September when Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi delivered a powerful address at the UN General Assembly. His speech emphasized Beijing's commitment to a community of a shared future for mankind, advocating for multilateralism and the protection of national sovereignty.
China opposes all forms of unilateralism and protectionism. We believe that in an increasingly interconnected world, no country can solve global challenges alone. Multilateralism is the only way forward.
As a permanent member of the UN Security Council, China has repeatedly used its voice to shape outcomes on key issues such as the conflicts in Syria, Gaza and Ukraine. In 2024, it has been particularly vocal on the war in Gaza, putting pressure on countries like the United States to accede to a ceasefire, while at the same time urging for dialogue and negotiation in the ongoing conflict in Ukraine.
China advocates for peaceful resolutions and dialogue. We believe that sanctions only exacerbate tensions, and a lasting solution can only be achieved through negotiation and compromise.
While China maintains its stance on these geopolitical issues, it's a key supporter of the UN's 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and has pledged substantial investment in clean energy and green technology. This year, China spearheaded global efforts on AI technology. In July, the UN General Assembly adopted a China-led resolution on international cooperation involving AI development. The measure stressed the importance of supporting developing countries, ensuring no one is left behind.
The international community should respect and safeguard the right of all countries to develop and utilize AI technology on an equal footing, and to work together to create an open, inclusive, and non-discriminatory environment for AI development. AI should be a boon for all, not a game reserved for the rich and the powerful.
One analyst believes that China has certainly played and continues to play a constructive role in ensuring there are no gaps in the rapidly evolving world of technology.
China is certainly making a concerted effort to emerge as a voice of the developing world, but also as an alternative, if you like, to the Western narrative on all things related to the Global Digital Compact.
Experts say in 2024 there was a clear emphasis on promoting cooperation, resisting unilateral actions, and balancing its own interests with broader global priorities. Jody Jacobs, CGTN, New York.
The UN takes on many of the world's biggest problems, but it also celebrates diverse cultures and their unique traditions. The UN added 63 new traditions to its list of intangible cultural heritage in 2024. Among the new inscriptions, China's Spring Festival. The annual event marks the beginning of the Chinese New Year, its most important holiday for centuries. The traditions that come along with Spring Festival are woven into the fabric of China's culture. The UN also officially observed the Lunar New Year as a holiday this year. The addition to the UN calendar was a first, but the organization has long recognized the event. Every year, the UN Post Office releases a Chinese zodiac stamp to welcome the new year.
Coming up.
I think it's important to highlight that peacekeeping has been dramatically evolving over the last decades.
UN Insider.
All you need to know about China. China 24, only on CGTN.
All year, we have conversations with some of the people working to achieve the UN's goals. The United Nations was formed in the wake of World War II, with maintaining peace and security as one of its top priorities. Since 1948, men and women in blue helmets have worked toward that goal. I spoke with Jean-Pierre Lacroix, the UN's head of peacekeeping operations, about China's contributions. China is the second largest contributor financially to UN peacekeeping operations, about 2,000 personnel on the ground as we speak. Can you talk about China's role and its significance in the big picture?
Yes, China's role is very, very significant and also very constructive and helpful when it comes not only to supporting peacekeeping through financial support, even with some voluntary funding, which are highly appreciated, but also through the men and women, Chinese men and women who are serving in many peacekeeping operations with a high level of professionalism and distinction. But what we also appreciate is the support by China to many initiatives aimed at improving the effectiveness of peacekeeping. And we just mentioned the leading role of China when it comes to safety and security of our peacekeepers, which is critically important. China has been pioneering a Security Council resolution on that topic and is leading a so-called group of friends of safety and security of peacekeepers.
The UN and its member states are striving to meet a set of 17 Sustainable Development Goals by the year 2030. It is an ambitious effort. I spoke with UN Development Program Administrator Akeem Steiner about international partnerships that are helping developing nations get closer to reaching the SDGs. The Secretary General called for more effective and inclusive multilateralism, bringing it back from the brink. What happened to multilateralism, and what did he mean by that statement?
You see, multilateralism at the end of the day is both a vision of how countries should come together and work together to solve problems, to prevent wars, to address the great challenges of development, the Sustainable Development Goals, the 2030 Agenda. All these are expressions of a collective understanding of where we need to act and commitments by countries to work together. We have seen in recent years an extraordinary amount of conflict re-emerge, polarization in international relations, geopolitical tensions, COVID, financial crisis. All this is taking us backwards in development terms, and our role as UNDP, but also the larger United Nations, is to help countries to quickly course correct, find ways in which together we can invest in a way forward, and also to leverage new opportunities.
Given China's growing influence as a development partner, how does UNDP collaborate with China to advance Sustainable Development Goals?
We draw very often today on China's approaches to addressing issues of poverty eradication, green transitions, in ways that inform also our work in many other parts of the world. Because at the end of the day, UNDP, with its programs in 170 countries, is a connector. It's a connector of best practice, of technologies, and also of policies that work. And I would say China and UNDP have much to be proud of in terms of looking back. And I hope, in the way that we look at the future, to also see China recognize UNDP as a vital partner to developing countries that are still having to go a certain distance before they are able to say, well, we have broken out of the challenges of extreme poverty, lack of infrastructure, or indeed, for so many countries on the African continent, still the majority of their citizens have no access to electricity.
Many nations on the African continent are benefiting from international cooperation and a multilateral approach to boost development. Under Secretary General and Special Advisor on Africa, Christina Duarte, shared her thoughts.
I was Minister of Finance. I interact with China as one of the main partners of Cape Verde, and was an outstanding partnership. But allow me to take the opportunity to mention the South-South cooperation. I think it's critical for the next 25 years of Africa's development. It's not a small detail. It's not a small piece in the puzzle. If the South-South cooperation will just copy and paste the cooperation model that basically started right after the Second World World War II, the Second World War, I believe it will fail. That model is over. That model is broken. But if the South-South cooperation will be able, recognizing, as we mentioned at the beginning of our conversation, the long-term historical dynamics, recognize that the geopolitical tectonic plates are moving, and the new cooperation development model needs to emerge, then the South-South cooperation will succeed. We have positive signs that we are in that direction, the BRICS, etc., etc. Let's see. Wait and see.
Coming up.
Our motto is no one should be left behind.
UN Insider.
The world's currencies are more connected than ever before. The mechanisms that drive the economy are universal. Money moves markets. We explain these trends and show you how the cash in your pocket can have a wide-reaching effect. Because money makes the world go round. Global business.
Multilateralism is a core principle for the UN. We spoke with members of the UN community about the impact they have seen from cooperation with China and other developing countries.
I certainly believe China has done an excellent job in implementing the 2030 agenda. China is also a staunch supporter to the UN development agenda. Under the framework of South-South cooperation, China actually offers a lot to support our developing world. China has conducted and invested 100 projects connecting to Africa, Asia, and even some countries in Latin America. So to me, this actually showcases China is a strongly committed to the sustainable development. And then also, within its capacity, it continues to provide its support through the South-South cooperation framework.
I think we are at a point where all 193 members of the UN have a role or two to play. And of course, the Global South has the largest population at the UN. So the voice of the Global South is extremely important. And of course, China, as an economic powerhouse, soon perhaps to be the biggest economy in the world, has a lot of role to play. We feel that the voice of the Global South with China, front and center, will make a lot of difference to the world going forward. There's a bunch of agenda that we need to address. Of course, climate change, health issues, poverty, transnational crimes, stuff that China can play a big role, on top of what China has done exceptionally in the past few decades, connectivity, Belt and Road Initiative, financing for development, that kind of thing that we feel that Global South can make a voice, a unified voice.
South-South cooperation gained a political expression in the early 1960s when large number of newly independent countries joined the UN and the countries were working towards establishing a UN development and trade mechanism. And it was during that negotiation the need was felt to unify the countries in the so-called Global South. And that need is there even today, and that the need to coordinate among the Global South is felt every step of the way, whether it is negotiations on global development or whether on climate change, or whether it is about reforming international or global governance mechanisms. The Maldives has been quite lucky that it's been able to provide some level of leadership on specific issues, especially on climate change and sustainable development. The Maldives held the leadership of the Alliance of Small Island States. We were the chair from 2015 to 2019. By the end of 2018, we relinquished chair. And in that capacity, we were able to set the agenda and shape the discussions in finding, again, shared solutions that will benefit everyone, both in the developing as well as in the developed world.
I'm Elaine Reyes at UN headquarters in New York. Thanks for being a UN insider. I'm Elaine Reyes at the United Nations headquarters in New York, and this is a special edition of UN Insider.
UN Insider serves as an important window for the global audience to better understand multilateral diplomacy.
It's very important for the media to cover the United Nations, to seek to understand and tell the story in ways that the average person in the street can understand.
I think it's very important that the media should contribute to conveying important messages about the reality of today's challenges.
UN Insider has come to the UN, and we at the UN are so grateful to have it here. It is the only dedicated TV program to what is happening in the UN, and it is reaching so many people with, as it says in its title, inside the UN stories.
Media plays an important role in providing objective information across the world.
We think that media has a strong power of uplifting, what we are trying to convey as messages as developing countries.
We need the mobilization of all peoples, of whole government and whole of society, and media can help us to be informed so that we also can make our part.
I think the media is fundamental to enable citizens across the world, first of all, to understand what is the rationale of having the United Nations. It's not that there is one place on planet Earth that will tell the rest of the world what to do. It is a much more complex story.